Here in Lincoln and around many parts of the state, concerns about dryness in another La Nina year are becoming more prominent. We spent time talking with Al Dutcher, Gary Zoubek, and Bob Klein about problems in their respective fields of coverage.
So if we take a look at what areas have done good and what areas have done bad, there are very few areas that have done good.
That's the way it may feel for many farmers and ranchers in Nebraska this year. Parts of the state are lacking the crucial moisture needed to fill the soil profile during the recharge period, defined as October 1st through April 30th. UNL Extension statewide climatologist Al Dutcher says while it's difficult to get accurate moisture readings because of frozen soil, the questions in portions of Nebraska are still timely.
If we maintain normal precipitation from now going forward, some areas in northeastern Nebraska still might see 7.5% to up to 12.5% yield reductions in terms of their baseline projections going forward for their corn crop, simply because that lack of that moisture during this period has not been made up.
That northeast corner of the state has been one of the driest, with deficits approaching 4 inches since the 1st of October. The southwest corner of the state, including Imperial and McCook, has deficits of 1.5 to 2 inches. But in a state with about 77,000 square miles, some areas are bound to be better than others.
It feels like it's been a drier year, but actually here in York, if I look at the past 3 months, October through December, we received 3.77 inches of moisture, and that's exactly the same as my 80-plus years of historic data that we have for the York area.
As UNL Extension educator Gary Zoubek notes, maybe with snow failing to stay around, it just feels drier than normal. The anxieties may also be at extremes during another La Nina year, which Dutcher points out doesn't necessarily guarantee anything.
What we need to remember is just because we're in a La Nina pattern, the tendency of a pattern does not mean a guarantee of the pattern, even though the frequency or the number of times that event occurs tends to be 60–70% of the time. There's that other 30% that go counter trend. And that's our hope, that we go to the counter trend of what we're expecting.
Because of the growing season of corn and soybeans, a drought during these months isn't nearly as costly as one during the June, July, or August timeframe for most farmers in eastern Nebraska.
If we're going to have a drought, those are good months to have a drought because we typically don't receive much more than 5 inches of moisture those 5 months, and so we're not hurting anything. If we have a drought in the summertime, that can make a big difference.
Farmers in parts of the state do have crops in the ground, though, like the winter wheat grown primarily in western Nebraska, including North Platte. While Bob Klein says this year's crop is in much better shape than last year's, rains during planting can't fill the soil profile for an entire season.
Dry soil warms up and cools down about 6 times faster than soil that has quite a bit of water in it. And so when we get some of these warm days, which we've had this winter, that dry soil, the wheat plant thinks it's warm enough to start growing. And whenever it starts growing like that, we lose some winter hardiness.
Klein says the early rains helped plants firm up roots, like the one on the right. But when it comes to winter hardiness, it's not just the wheat that takes a hit with its own reduced yield.
We feel that a good stand of wheat can be worth as much as 40 or even more bushels per acre to the corn, grain, sorghum crops that follow.
Dutcher says each farmer will need to judge fields individually. For the time being, he and other Midwestern colleagues believe most moisture now will have little effect until soils thaw. What he looks at instead is a 4-month outlook that can give a consistent picture of what farmers can expect in the future.
What we are seeing is a consistency in the forecast from the last 3 or 4 months. As they, 4 months ago they were projecting out to that period, they were saying dry. The following month they're saying dry. That's the type of pattern consistency that gives you a high degree of confidence. It's not a guarantee, but a high degree of confidence that event's going to occur. And if our people can pay attention to that alone, they're just going to go a long way in terms of figuring out where we're coming from in terms of our forecast, because that's what we're also looking at.
Later in the program, Al will be back to forecast the chances for precipitation across Nebraska for the next week.